Hello, everyone, and welcome back to one of these tier lists slash rankings. And today we are going to be ranking the black metal slash Viking metal band Bathory. And today I am doing it with my girlfriend Monica.
Hello, Bathory is my favorite band of all time, and it was about time that we finally made a tier list video here on this channel.
Yeah, Corthon to me is he's basically as talented as Chuck Schuldiner, and it's kind of a shame that not all of these albums are S tier, but yeah, that's where he is to me. He's pretty influential to me as well. Um, Took me a while to actually get into Bathory, but now they're like a top 10 band for me. So this ranking, we're gonna go in order of release. So the first album we're doing is the self-titled. This came out in 94 or 84, I think. Um, it was one of the first like actual like the black metal sound came from this album in my opinion. Got like bangers like Sacrifice, Necromancy. Like Necromancy was such a banger that Varg decided to copy it and the song War on his debut album. This album also has like that very lo-fi production. They I think I forget. I think it was like they spent $606 on this album. That's how it took to record it. It might be another band I'm confusing of. I think this album is very very good. It's short. I really like how the intro basically sets the tone for the entire album. Like it's dark. It's very evil sounding. Hades is a banger. Reaper is also a banger. I think War might be my least favorite. Raise the Dead is pretty catchy. Yeah, my favorite off here is personally Sacrifice. Um, this is personally my second favorite out of the black metal era. Um, but I think this is a banger debut, so it goes in the S tier.
The self-titled is out of the four black metal bands that Corthon has done, I think Bathory is my second or third favorite out of the four black metal era albums that Corthon has put out. Like Aaron said, you have bangers such as Hoods or Hooties, Reaper. You have Necromancy, which I personally is my favorite song off the album. I love that little part towards the end. I don't know, I love it. It reminds me of Christmas. And then you have Sacrifice, which obviously is iconic of a song. Um, just the album overall, I love the 80s production. I think it's very fitting for it for it being one of the first black metal albums ever made. I think it is. I love it, and I would say that it's a lot better than Venom as well. I would put it in, you know what? I think S tier. I'd personally put it in A tier, but I think S
Yeah,
tier
I'm going
would
with
be,
S.
yeah.
I'm going with S tier. The next album is the album that Corthon actually got into a an actual like studio instead of the garage that they've been recording in, and ironically, this is like one of the worst sounding ones too of this era. Um, so to put it bluntly, I'm not. This album is good, but first of all, the album is. I'm not gonna count Winds of Mayhem. This album is 11 songs long, which is a lot longer than the debut, and some of the songs just don't hit for me, like Possessed, Reap of Evil, um, uh, Winds of Mayhem, I think. But the songs I do enjoy are Total Destruction, Born for Burning, Be Still Lust, Saddest, and The Ride of Darkness. Um, this album's drumming is a lot messier compared to the debut, and the production, like I mentioned, is a lot worse. So I think there are a lot of more forgettable tracks on here. This is to put it bluntly, this is my least favorite of this era. So mostly because of the production, uh, the drumming is a lot messier, and there's a good handful of forgettable tracks. But I would put this in B tier probably.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, this album has taken me about 3 tries to finally enjoy because when I first got into Bathory back in 2020, this was one of the few albums that I first started listening to, and I just did not like it. I didn't like the production. None of the songs captivated me at the time. But for some reason, after the third or fourth listen of finally giving this album a chance, I was like, damn, okay, this is kind of good. And I like all the songs on it, obviously, besides the intro and the outro. But like songs like Born for Burning is probably the best song off the album. It's so good. Chorus is catchy, and then you have Bastille Lost, you have Reap of Evil, which is also probably my first or second favorite song off the album. Um, I love it because it has like, I don't know, like a doomy element to it. There's this riff, it's like fast, and then like towards the middle of the song, it's like slow and it's moody and it's like kind of vibey or something like that. And that's why I really love that song. I don't know how Aaron doesn't like that song, but I love that song a lot. Sadist, obviously a good song, and then The Return of Darkness and Evil, uh, another great song as well. The production on this album, it did take a while for me to enjoy, like I mentioned already, but I think it is fitting for the album. I like the themes, the titles of the songs, the album cover, beautiful, iconic. But yeah, I personally would put this album, what did you say? You'd put it in B tier?
Yeah.
I would personally put it in A tier. I think B is too low
Why? It's
because
I would not. There's an album I will put in A tier that deserves to go in A tier, but considering the production is significantly worse and the drumming is worse,
the
and
production is not that bad.
it's not.
It's bad, but it's not.
I've heard worse, but the production really kind of kills it for me, and plus the drumming and the amount of forgettable tracks on here for me. So I'm not sure if I would put it in A.
Okay, we could put it in like lower A because I already know what album I
Fine,
want it to be.
I'll put
So.
it in lower A. All right. Next up on our list is Under the Sign of the Black Mark, and
That's your.
to get you'll have your turn. And this album personally to me is where Quorthon struck gold with the black metal sound that the Norwegian dudes would take and then expand upon, like Massacre, Equimanthorn. Like those songs could basically pass as second wave. Um, Call from the Grave is like one of the best songs of all time, and as well as Enter the Eternal Fire, which if you didn't know, um, it has a very interesting concept to where this dude is basically being like seduced by the devil, and uh, and he's like, here you there's something here, come here and I'll give you this, and he's like, ooh, shiny, and then he eventually like goes for it, and then at the end of near the song where you could hear the doubled vocals and it sounds like the devil's singing, but that's actually him being dragged down to hell because the devil basically trapped him. I think that's a very very cool thing that to just put in a black metal song. Woman of Dark Desires, it's kind of weird because it's the the riff. I mean, the production is very weird on this album or on this song, because like it's kind of like the guitars are like put on the left.
It sounds like a garage.
Yeah, it sounds kind of weird compared to the rest of the album. But full disclosure, this is um if The Return was the worst sounding album, this would be the second worst sounding album. But however, every song on here is pretty much memorable. You can make an argument for Of Doom, but I think Of Doom is really cool because it's, if you read the lyrics, he's basically singing about the fans of the band, and that's, so I think that's cool to end off the album with. I think this album is basically second wave black metal in my opinion. I think this is my third overall, but so yeah, S tier.
This album used to be one of my favorite albums of all time before it got overtaken by Gehenna's Through the Veils of Darkness. Sorry. Album cover, 10 out of 10. I'm wearing the shirt right now. It's amazing. I really love the production on this album. I love the eeriness and the atmosphere that it gives all the songs. Call from the Grave. I want to say Call from the Grave is one of the few songs that finally got me into black metal again because I did go through a period where I hated black metal. I was like, oh, I don't like black metal. It's boring. I don't like the production. And then like several years later, I'm like, black metal is my favorite genre now. So never say never. Yeah, Call from the Grave is the first black metal era song that I've listened to by Bathory. And when I first heard it, I was in disbelief. I was in shock. That song can send you thrills, can send you thrills, whatever, through your spine with how cold and dark and eerie it sounds. I love how, like, every time I listen to that song, especially I have earbuds on, it feels like I'm like in a very dark, grim forest. No snow, just nothing but dead trees around. And there's like a grave there, and Hawthorne's like just coming out, and he's like trying to drag us into it, and he's like screaming, like call from the grave or something. I love that so much. Enter the Eternal Fire is probably my second favorite song off the album. I love the atmosphere. It reminds me a lot of Call from the Grave. And then Woman with Dark Desires is an amazing song. I love the title, Woman with Dark Desires. I love it. Um, I love the riffs on Call from the Grave. I forgot to mention are super, like, they just make you go, "Oomph." Yeah, and then there's this song, I want to say it's Massacre, but it goes like kind of crazy at the end. It kind of feels like a brain rot shitpost when you listen to it. Um,
Oh, it's not Massacre.
well, I forget what song it
It's
is.
Echo
It's
Manthorn.
off, oh, Echo Manthorn. So Echo Manthorn has this little ending where it sounds like you're listening to like a crazy shit post or something and you're like on LSD or something. That's the best I can explain it. But otherwise, this album deserves all the love and fame that it gets. And like Aaron previously mentioned, this album, I want to say is like the album that started black metal that made it go into that proper direction that we all know now. So yeah, definitely S tier for me.
All right, cool. This is the order so far. So Under the Sign, self-titled, and then The Return. All right, and next up is Bloodfire Death, and this is the album where you could definitely hear that he's gonna start shifting into sound. So this is basically collashing or combining the Viking stuff and the black metal stuff. Um, right off the bat, "A Fine Tate the Day to Die" is like a masterpiece of a song. It's got to be in the top, at least top 100 songs of all time. It is a fantastic song. It is epic. It gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it. Um, the Golden Walls of Heaven. This is like that's like the only song off this album that I could say that I don't really care for. Like the intro is lazy, like dun 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 dun. Like it just goes up like up the fretboard. Like that's kind of a lazy intro. Pastel Death is awesome. Like I like the intro where it goes da 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 da.
It reminds me of like na 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 na
Yeah.
boo every
Um,
time.
I just like the chorus. Like he's like oh, based on death. Um, Holocaust would probably be my second least favorite, but it's still good. For All Those Who Died is like a slower type of song. Dies Ire, I don't know how to pronounce that. Is also good. Blood Fire Death, the fucking title track is amazing. And at this point, I would say that this is the best sounding black metal era Bathory album. But it's not my favorite, but it's definitely like up there. Um, I have my gripes with it, but I think it's deserving of S tier. Oh, and I forgot to mention that to some, this is like the Bathory album, but me personally, that's not the case. But I still think it's a great album.
All right, this is where we start conflicting because this is my least favorite black metal album out of the four black metal albums that Corthon's put out. I just like, of course, A Fine Day to Die and Bloodfire Death are spectacular songs, 11 out of 10 easily. Like, you cannot go wrong with those songs. Those songs are what carry that album. However, the rest of the songs, I still think they're good, they're fine, but I don't like those songs as much as the other ones from previous albums. Um, Also, Aaron mentioning that this album is his favorite projection. I disagree. It's my least favorite projection, which is partly why I don't like this album as much as the other ones. I've never, I was never really, I guess, for the hype with everyone praising this album so
No,
much.
I didn't say this was I
And
didn't say this was my favorite. I said this is objectively the best sounding album by in this era. Like
yeah,
you can hear the guitars clearly, you can hear the bass clearly, like but in like the self-titled, you could like sometimes the guitars just sound like very tiny, and sometimes you can hear the guitars because the production fluctuates on that. Um, but objectively, I think this is the best sounding in this era. But I don't. It's not my favorite, but it's objectively.
my favorite production out of the Black Metal era is Under the Sign. And yeah, it sounds like garage, but I like it. It has a cute little perks to it that I really like. But otherwise, Blood Fire Death, I don't know. I don't think like the two songs, A Fine Day Today and Blood Fire Death, yes, they're amazing. But as for the rest of the songs, I think S tier is too high in my opinion. I want to do like maybe at least a high A because I would not put this album in S
Okay, I'll
tier.
put it in front of the return.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right, now we're on to another era. Um, next up is Hammerheart by oh, of course, fucking yeah. Anyway, this is Hammerheart. This is where Corthon fully goes Viking stuff. And a full disclaimer, this is in my like top 10 favorite albums of all time. Like Shores and Flames is so awesome, so majestic. Valhalla is awesome. Baptized in Fire and Ice, it might be my least favorite because I think the chorus repeats a lot, way too much, but it's still great. Far of the Sun has like the beefiest riff in this entire album, and I just
Yeah.
love that riff so much. I love the guitar tone on this. I just like the production. If the production was any different, I don't think this album would be as high as it is for me because the production. I want to say it's the major factor to this, but it definitely helps a lot. The song "To Haul Up High," I was just obsessed with this song at one point because it's a very nice acoustic track, and Corthon's vocals actually shine on this one. Um, Home of Once Brave is fucking awesome too. One Road to Asa Bay. I forget which of those songs has a music video. Is it One Road to
It's
Asa?
One Road to Asabe.
Yeah. Um, I should have mentioned that. I should have fucking assumed that because that song has 3 million streams. Yeah. So just from everything, the riffs. I actually think people don't like Quorthon's cleans, but I think they work well um, in this type of sound because he sounds like a gruff Viking singing these songs. I love the build up in Shores and Flames. It gives me goosebumps every time. As well as like when the main riff to Follow the Sun comes in. I need to listen to this album again because it's been a while. It's so fucking good.
Hammerheart is also used to be my favorite album of all time, right before Under the Sign. So it was like my second favorite of all time at one point. But this album has a special place in my heart because it is the album, specifically Father to Son, that got me into Bathory. I remember it was 2020 and everything was closed because of COVID. And I was so bored at home, and Bathory came up as a recommended on my Spotify. And I decided to check out Father to Son because the album cover captivated me. I was like, oh, it's this. I listened to it and I vividly remember once the song finished, my jaw was to the floor. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is my new favorite band now." And I said that not knowing that Bathory was going to be my new favorite band. I think they replaced Death, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, Father to Son, the riffs are so chunky and groovy. They just like I don't know, they feel dirty, and I love that when it comes to songs. Um, Baptized in Fire and Ice. It's a great song. I do agree that it repeats that part a little too much, but it's still amazing of a song. All these songs are 10 out of 10s in my book, by the way. Home of Once Brave. I love it. It reminds me of like a Viking finding his home out in like Nordic Sea. Valhalla is great. One Road to Asabe. I had an obsession with the music video at one point. I don't know why. But it's a beautiful song. I want to say it's like my second or third favorite off the album. Um, Especially the solo part. That part I love so much because I don't know, it just feels like Quorthon is putting all of his soul and effort into those riffs, into that solo, into all the highs and stuff, and I really appreciate that from him. Shores and Flames, incredible song, and then Song to Haul Up High is has got to be one of my favorite acoustic songs of all time. It's short and sweet, it's cut to the chase, it's only 2 minutes. And this song could like, if you're really feeling it one day, this song could really make you cry. Because once again, I feel like Hawthorne is putting his heart and soul into this acoustic track. It's like a sad Viking who lost his family or his ship or something. That's what this song reminds me of. But otherwise, production, yes, it's not the best, but I love it. It's fitting to the album and the theme. This is just an amazing album overall, and I definitely think it deserves S tier.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna put it at the very top.
It's also probably the first ever Viking metal album I've ever listened to, and I want to say because of this album, it has made me a lot more open and has made me love and appreciate like folk elements of black metal songs as well.
Are you okay with it being at the very top?
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Well, wait. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. And next up we have Twilight of the Gods, which, in my opinion, is basically a weaker Hammerheart. The guitars seem to have lost their beefiness compared to Hammerheart. I think the title track is solid. It's got a cool shreddy bass line at the end of the song. I love the intro to Through Blood by Thunder. A solid song too. Um, I think it has a I think it has a great chorus in the riffs. And Blood on Iron is basically a better version of that song. Basically takes the same intro from Through Blood, from Through Blood and Thunder by Thunder. and then like expands on it and turns it into a completely different song. Um, and I think the guitar kind of sounds a little Spanishy. I would say, I'm not sure. Under the Runes used to be my favorite, but it's still good. Bond of Blood is basically has, I don't know what came first, but Bond of Blood has the same instrumental as in Nome Santanas, um, which I kind of prefer in Nome Santanas to Bond of Blood because of the vocals. Ironically, I think that Hammerheart might be my least favorite off of here, but it's still good. It sounds like a church choir. Um, and even though we have like Bathory albums in A, me if this is my personal list, this would be the only Bathory album in A tier. Um, yeah, I think this is just like a significantly weaker Hammerheart.
Yeah, I agree. I agree putting this album in A tier. It is a good album. I do want to get this out of the way. Hammerheart is also my least favorite off the album. I know a lot of people love that song, but for some reason, even though I love acoustics and appreciate them most of the time, this acoustic track didn't really do anything for me. Like Aaron said, it just feels like I don't know. I just never really liked it. So it's like, yeah, I just never really liked that song. Um, on to Through Blood by Thunder and Under the Runes though. Those two are my favorite songs off the album. Uh, Through Blood by Thunder, the introduction always makes me sad for some reason. It's melancholic. And I don't know. I remember seeing on YouTube, like Through Blood by Thunder, there's this YouTube video. I don't know if it's been deleted, but it was just of the Through Blood by Thunder song playing, specifically the intro. And then on the YouTube clip, it was like a clip of some person in their airplane, and it was looking out the airplane window as it was taking off. And now every time I get on an airplane and I look out the window and it's taking off, Through Blood by Thunder's intro starts playing in my head subconsciously. Fun fact. Anyway, Through Blood by Thunder, I love it. It's beautiful. I feel the feelings in the song and it gets to my heart and my soul every time. It feels like Under the Ruins is also a song that kind of sounds sad, but I love it and I appreciate it. I love like the grand feeling of the songs. I love the chorus. And then Twilight of the Gods, Blood and Iron, To Enter a Mountain, Bond of Blood. I loved all those songs equally as well. I'd say like 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. They're equally just as amazing. Um, and yes, I do. Yes, they're long. They're like 10 minutes long or so, but I never get bored during those 10 minutes. I feel like each minute, each second of every song has been utilized perfectly by Quorthon, everything from the vocals being fine to the guitars and the drums. I think everything sounds like I don't have much complaints to this album, which is I believe it deserves to be an A tier. It's not as great as like Hammer Heart and Under the Sign, but it is a wonderful album. And it's also the first ever album I've ever owned on vinyl. So I think it deserves A tier.
I'd put it between The Return and Blood, Fire, Death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I would argue to put it above Blood, Fire, Death.
No, I no,
Yes.
no.
Hmm.
A fine that Twilight of the Gods does not have a fine day to die.
It does not have Blood, Fire, Death either, but
I know. There's no song on Twilight of the Gods where I would listen to over a fine day to die. I think this is fair.
okay, fine, you're one with that one.
Okay. Now we're getting to we're
No.
shut up. Now we're getting to the albums where I would call basically the midlife crisis albums.
Sign me out.
This is Requiem. If you didn't know, Quorthon took a thrash route in like what the mid late '90s, I think, is when this came out. This is like better than a certain album by like a foot. The drum sounds are interesting. Production still sucks ass. Like the drums sound, the drums are programmed, but they sound like I don't know how I was always describing them as like the drummer using like bones as like drumsticks. And Corathon's vocals are rough on here. He does bring back some of the harshes. The bass tone is cool. Like I don't know what it is. The production on here is weird. Like it's a
Yeah.
very clear bass. Um, this album is just overall kind of boring and like kind of hard to listen to. The title track, Blood and Soil, and Pax Vobiscum are decent, but that's pretty much all I could say about it. I'd probably put this in like D tier.
I'm conflicted on where to put this album. I'd say either C or D tier. Because it's not the worst thing ever, but it's definitely very underwhelming compared to a lot of Quorthon's other projects or albums. The only couple songs I have liked off this album is Suffocate and Apocalypse. Apocalypse, I really like the riff. I think it's catchy. Requiem, the first track off the album, I don't know if it's just me. After like the 10 or 20-second mark, it reminds me of Megadeth. I don't know why. I listened to that. I was like, yep, that's Megadeth or Megadeth. The production, I'm not a huge fan of it. Um, I feel like I shouldn't say anything because I love shit Fisher Price production on other black metal albums and stuff. But when it comes to this album, I just don't like it. The drums sound, I don't like the drums. They remind me a bit of Saint Anger for obvious reasons. It feels like Quorthon took a picture of this bone fields that's in the album cover, and then he was like, all right, time to film the drums or time to record the drums. And he took a bone from the album cover and was like just blasting it on the pan or something. That's what it sounds like to me. And speaking of the album cover, I do love the Bathory logo. I think it looks sick. It's underrated. Um, yeah, I don't have much else to say. A lot of the songs are forgettable in my opinion. They're not horrible. They're okay. They're like maybe 5 out of 10. I don't know. I just don't really like this album a lot. But I don't think it deserves F tier. There's worse albums that deserve F tier. But I'm conflicted because I feel like, I don't know, it could be in C or D tier, but even D tier feels a little too low to me. Did you say you'd put them in D tier?
I'd put Requiem in D tier because even though there are a couple songs I find decent, I
Yeah.
will never probably return to this on my own terms unless I'm doing another Discog run.
Well, not
And it
only that,
sounds like
but
ass.
not only that, but Requiem and Octagon are the only two Bathory albums that I don't ever plan on owning on vinyl. Um, because I just don't care for them that much. Um,
Okay, well, this is going in D tier.
okay, you know what? We'll settle this after Octagon.
Okay. Okay, now we are to the real shit. Um, so first of all, I just want to say I don't know what crack the YouTube comments on this album are. They're like, wow, this is like the only good post black metal album. Like this sounds like ass and it's fucking boring. What are you talking about?
The album cover looks
And
like ass. It looks like Forthon crumpled up a piece of paper and was like, "Hey, pentagram," or whatever that symbol is, and took a picture, and boom.
and
Okay.
so people call this like an industrial metal album. Like, what are you fucking talking about? Just because it has programmed drums does not mean it's industrial, like at all. I don't get a single industrial, like, feeling from this album. And God, what else do I even say about this? I feel like this album gets worse after every listen. The production sucks major ass, and Corthon does not, I repeat, he does not have a voice for thrash at all. He's basically using like his Viking style vocals for this, and that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Born to Die has some okay moments, most of this album is just hard to get through, and it's not even that, it's also boring. So there are some like moments in different tracks that are redeemable, but overall it's awful. And funny how the Kiss cover at the very end is the best sounding song. Um, I I don't like listening to this album. It's grating in my ears. F tier.
Okay, I have to admit, I do have more songs liked off of Octagon than Requiem, surprisingly. I just surprised myself with this fact right before this video. But Born to Die, I actually think is a decent enough song. It's nowhere near as good as Quorthon's other better stuff. But I think it's a decent song. I like the little acoustic intro. I think the song overall is decent. It's like a 7 out of 10. Word Supply, yeah, it's awful production, all that, but for some reason I enjoy it. Um, this song called 33 something, I think that's the song where Forthan's like, suck my dick. I don't know, I find that funny.
Oh yeah, I forgot those
Coming from
fucking
him.
lyrics. Suck my
Yeah,
dick. I forget
I,
what all he says.
yeah, I like that song specifically because of that. That's what makes it tolerable to get through the rest of the
Yeah, I
song.
forgot to mention the
Um,
fucking terrible lyrics on this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a comment that was like, "This has got to be one of the best lyrics."
That's
Like,
definitely ironic.
that is definitely a hot take. And I have hot takes in this Bathory video too, but oh my goodness gracious. Octagon's production makes me mad. And I remember Aaron and I were in the car and he blasted, I want to say the intro, the first song off Octagon, and it just sounded like it was just blaring on the speakers. It sounded, yeah, it sounded like that. And him and I just stared at each other and we started like we bursted out laughing because it just sounded so ass. It sounded like there was like a bee in his speaker, and I don't know, it just sounds horrible. And then a lot, well, I don't know, it's just such a chore to get through this album, and there's nothing, I mean, besides Born to Die, and like, yep, you put it right there.
Yeah, right there.
No,
Yeah, right
put
there.
it back in F. Put it back in F.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm,
garbage album.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing else I want to
Alright,
say.
let's just move
It's
on.
bad.
Let's just yeah, because nothing
Yeah.
else to say here about it.
We need to save our words for the best.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Um. So next is Blood on Ice, and I'm gonna come out and say that this is also one of my least listened to Bathory albums. I would not call this album bad, but I would not call it great either. I think the opener is nice, has a nice catchy melody. Man of Iron is also a pretty like nice little acoustic track. One Eyed Old Man kind of sounds like a Viking themed punk song. Not really huge on this one. I think The Stallion is probably the best track off of this album. Has a very good riff and the pace as well. The Wood Woman is decent. I'm not big on it. The Lake is pretty solid as well. Uh, Gods of the Thunder of Wind and Rain is decent. The Ravens is a cool acoustic track. Revenge of Blood on Ice. I'm not sure why Gorthon decided to like, hey, you know what? Let's take the intro and just make it longer, but let's like keep the intro too. So let's basically have like the same song, but like 2 minutes longer. Um, it's like, but it does like sound a lot more epic compared to the intro. Overall, I think this is the worst Viking album he's done, and there's a couple standout tracks for me, but I like never really return to this one. I think these songs are like significantly weaker than any other Viking album he's done. So I'd probably put this in B tier.
I understand why you don't really like this album as
No,
much, but
I
this,
like I like
oh
it. It's
no,
just
yeah,
yeah.
like it's your least favorable, I guess. But this is another hot take. I would put this album above Flood, Fire, Death, I'd say. which kind of sucks and hurts to say because Bloodfire Jack obviously has two of Bathory's best songs ever on that album. But Blood on Ice overall, I love this album a lot more. I listen to more songs on it frequently. Like The Lake is probably my favorite song off of it. Either that or The Revenge of Blood on Ice. Um, the song The Revenge of the Blood on Ice, I love it because towards kind of like almost the end, there's this part for the millionth time, it sounds kind of doomy and it's like nice and slow and it's like dun, 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 like kind of like that. And I don't know, I just this song, this whole album just makes me feel, I think it's just a good album overall. Um, songs like The Sword, The Lake, The Stallion is really good. Um, Gods of Thunder, of Wind and of Rain, that one reminds me of me being on a horse with a sword and singing along to the song as like butcher up like my enemies or something in the 1500s. That's what that song reminds me of. One-Eyed Old Man, I think is good. It's kind of a weird song. I like it. I don't really have too much to say other than I think this album is good. And I would go as far as to put it in A tier. I know you don't like this album as much as I do, nowhere near, but maybe no, A tier. I don't know. This album is not
Okay,
B tier.
well then I'm gonna put it at the very end. I'm
No.
putting it at the very end of A
Okay,
tier, because
fine.
you would put it here. I
No, I wouldn't. Actually, hold up.
okay.
I would not put
Full
it
disclaimer.
there.
I would have this here. I would personally have it here because it's not on the same level as these albums. But considering we're both doing this tier list and it's both of our takes coming into account, I have to. So
You're welcome.
okay. Next is Destroyer of Worlds, and I have a bone to pick with this fucking album. So I don't. First of all, I don't even know what to categorize this album as, because some of the
Yeah.
songs are Viking or they're groove metal or sometimes even thrash. I guess to get like the good out of the way, I think Lake of Fire, Ode, Bleeding, and Kill 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 are all good songs. Lake of Fire is basically a long lost Viking song that didn't like make it onto any other album. Ode as well, but that one is my favorite. The title track's instrumental kind of sounds like a villain's theme song. Pestilence sounds like something off of Requiem, which good thing it didn't make it on there because it's decent and it didn't get butchered by the production on Requiem. Bleeding could probably pass as a song from Nordland if I'm gonna be honest. If it wasn't for how the vocals like were produced, the vocals are very weird on this one. I think it's the vocals are either have an effect on it or like the room he recorded it in. 109 sounds like an Octagon song but with better production. It's very meh.
Yeah.
Death from Above takes a dip on production for some reason. Not a great song at all. Kill 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 is pretty much a Pantera song. It's pretty. It's a good song. Liberty and Justice is whatever. Crom fucking blows. Holy fuck, that song is terrible. Fucking vocals and the boring instrumental, just garbage. The mix is so ass, and the bass drum is now barely audible if you compare it to the rest of the tracks. And I don't know what Quorthon is doing here with, again, his vocals. Not good. Sudden Death is kind of whatever. It's a song. Kind of boring. White Bones has a cool intro. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. But actually no, because it doesn't need to be 8 minutes. It does not need to be 8 minutes long. Day of Wrath is pretty boring as well. Overall, this album is such a mixed fucking bag. Some feel like it could be on Octium and Requiem, and some could feel like they could be on like one of the best Viking like albums. And I'm pretty sure this album has 15 tracks. No, 13 tracks. At this point I think is the longest Bathory album. Yeah, because Northern 2 is an hour and 2 minutes, and this is an hour and 6 minutes. Funny how their longest album is also one of their worst. I would personally put this above Requiem in D tier.
Mm-mm. Hot take. I personally really like, well, I wouldn't say really like, I personally like this album. And I do not think that it deserves the hate that a lot of people like to give it. I would I would personally put this album in B tier, if I'm being honest. Um, yes, this is the third worst of Quorthon, but I say worst likely in this case because I do like Destroyer of Worlds. And speaking of, thought I found that, or Aaron found that album at a record shop we went to recently, and I bought it. So, Lake of Fire, Destroyer of Worlds, Ode, Bleeding, those songs are wonderful. Lake of Fire, the little like acoustic guitar part is what really makes that song for me. Destroyer of Worlds reminds me of a video game for some reason. It reminds me of like a video game where I'm in the dungeon, kind of like that
Yeah,
first Doom
it sounds
game,
like a
I want
villain
to
theme
say.
song.
Yeah. Um, yeah, every time I listen to it, it reminds me of that. It also reminds me of this game called Crystal Maze that I used to play with a lot back in the 2000s. It scared the hell out of me. And then Ode is like a melancholic, sad song, but it's good. I like Pestilence personally. 109, I also like. I like Liberty of Justice. I like Day of Wrath. Now, White Bones. Aaron does not like this song. Okay, the first like 5 or 6 minutes of the song, I think it's good. I enjoy it. The thing that I love about this song, and yes, you have to listen to most of the song before you get to the end, but I really love the ending, like for the Meantime melancholic part of White Bones, because it just feels like I'm kind of like in the sailboat and I'm just like grooving to the song from side to side. That's how it feels like when I listen to that part of White Bones. I really like that song. Crom is uh, it's just like crumbs. That song, if okay, I always make this description of this song. It feels like Quorthon got tired of making like good songs halfway through this album. And he was like, "Hey, producer, I want you to sing on this for me while I take a cigarette break." And his producer actually attempts to sing like Quorthon is like,
His
I don't,
his producer is his dad. His dad produced his albums, as well as Corthon himself.
I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually knew that at one point, but I completely forgot. Oh my goodness. Okay, I should take that back, but it does sound horrible. It sounds like Quorthon passed the mic to someone or passed the mic to someone else. I was like, hey, play the song for me and I'll get back to it on sudden death, which I don't really like sudden death either. But yeah, this song, I mean, this album, I'd argue to be in B tier.
The best thing about White Bones is the harmonized guitar part of the intro. That's all I have left to say. The highest I will go is C tier.
B tier.
No,
B for Bathory, B tier.
no, we need to meet in the middle because
B.
I would put it here. It's going in C tier.
It's not that bad of an
It,
album. It has
dude, it is such a mixed bag that
it
I cannot put it I cannot put it
I
above
mean,
average. It is not above average. C is average.
I put it in B though.
Yeah, but I would put it in D tier. You put it in B. Let's meet in the middle at C. Okay.
All right. C
Yeah,
for cool.
you have to make compromises.
All right.
That's the point of doing a tier list with someone else. All right, next
Meaning of
up,
life too.
we are finally in the home stretch. We got banger after banger. Okay, so
Hmm.
Northern One is fucking awesome. The title track is just so grand. Like oh, oh. Like, like the chorus or the fucking choir is just so good. Um, Winter Blue is a banger too. Ring of Gold. I used to not really care for like 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 long acoustic tracks by like metal bands, but after listening to like forget what I listened to, um, but I really appreciate that song now. It's very gorgeous. Great Hall awaits Fallen Brother. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like one of the few like fast paced, like Viking era stuff that he's done. Is that right? It's like one of the few, like fast Viking songs he's done.
Which song?
Great Hall awaits Fallen Brother.
E
Do not remember what it sounds
Either
like.
that. No, I do. Either that or Resurrection. Great Resurrection.
No, I said one of the few because there's like not many like fast paced. Um,
Oh,
like this is like a, I guess thrashy type of Viking song, but it's actually good
then
this
yeah.
time. Um, I think this album is great. I don't really have much else to say about it. I think every single song besides like the intro and obviously the outro are very very solid. I would put this in S tier, I guess.
I agree. I'd put this album in S tier. Nordland is such a groovy, fun little Viking song. Winter Blot is good. Dragon Breath. Ring of Gold is one of my favorite acoustic songs of all time. It is so good. It feels like it feels like Hawthorne is on like a pirate boat in the Nordic Sea, and he's out like just writing or playing this song on his acoustic guitar as he's looking out, and it's freezing cold. And again, he like lost his Viking tribe or army or whatever. And that's what this song reminds me of, like just the sad Viking going through it. Forever Dark Woods. This song had me on the chokehold for a while, a couple years ago. Um, it feels like I'm traversing the woods with my horse. I especially love the shrieking like solo towards somewhat kind of the end of the song. And then Broken Swords, we have Mother Earth, Father Thunder. And then I think this is my favorite song off November 1, either that or Forever Dark Woods. The Great Hall Awaits Fallen Brother. That one, I love the grand opening of the song. I also remember first listening to the song, my jaw being dropped because, like, wow, this sounds so grand. This sounds so, I guess, I don't know. I love the production. I love how grand the riffs and the guitar feels. They feel chunky. They feel like full of passion, which is something I really appreciate. So otherwise, just great song or great album. I do want to mention real quick that Winterblot and Dragon Breath, it did take me a little bit to enjoy, but I finally enjoy those songs. It took me like a couple of years to finally like their songs. But otherwise, I'd easily put this in S tier.
Yeah, but where we put it in S tier is gonna be I'd probably put it there.
No,
Yeah, I'd put it there.
I put it above the debut. I would put it above the debut.
Um,
I think it's way too low.
it's still an S tier. What do you mean too low?
Yeah, but I would put it above the debut.
That's fine.
Yay.
That makes sense because I guess anyway,
Yeah, you have. Mhm.
we have made it to the final album, Northland 2, which my personal opinion, I prefer Northland 2 way more than Northland 1, even though Northland 1 is
Yeah.
still good. Blooded Shore is just fucking fantastic. Seawolf, every single song on here has a very memorable melody. I think Blooded Shore is the da 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 da
Um,
da 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 da. And Vinland is, God, one of my favorite Bathory songs in general. Like I was obsessed with the main riff for a long time. like in the Flash of the Silver Hammer is also very, it has a very heavy riff and it's also catchy, like Flash of the Silver Hammer. It's just
Chunky.
so fucking good. um I forget if it's the Wheel of Sun. That intro is just so grand, like it's and it
That's the
goes.
Wheel of Stone.
Yeah, the Wheel of Sun. That intro is, I think, it would hurt to say that it goes on for too long, but it actually does. But I don't care because I love it so much. It sounds like the song's about to end. Like, okay, is the you gonna end now? Yes, no. I still love it regardless, even if I feel that way. Um, what can I say about, like, I think it's the Messenger where it has like this very grand, like, melody, like I just, it's 10 minutes long, so I'm gonna bet it's that one. But like the like this album is such a fucking great like run from Blooded Shore, Seawolf, Vinland, The Land. Like, I think Death and the Resurrection of a Northern Sun probably is my least favorite off this, but it's still goated.
Or what?
It's goaded. It's still goaded. I love every single song off of here, but it probably
Oh my
lands at my least
goodness.
favorite. If you're not counting, like, Fanfare and The Winds of Mayhem. This is personally my second favorite Bathory album. This goes to S tier, absolutely. I would also like to mention, like, the production on both Nordland albums are, they're weird. They're not, I want to say it's bad, but like the guitar sounds very staticky, I guess, if you can say. But regardless, I still love the hell out of this album as well as Northern One. Um, but yeah, this goes right behind Hammerheart in my opinion.
All right, S tier automatically. I would put this above Northern One. Anyway, this album, funny enough, even though it's not my favorite of all time, I want to say this is my third favorite album by Bathory. This is the only album by Bathory where every single song, just by looking at the title, I like remember exactly how it sounds. The Messenger is my least favorite song off the album, and I'd still give it a 10 out of 10. It's an amazing song, yes, and I especially love the like slow and towards the end of the song where it's like doo, 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 doo. I love that part so much of The Messenger. Um, but you have songs that are so much more like beefy, I guess, like Blooded Shore, no comment on that. You have Seawolf. Um, it sounds like I don't know, Seawolf, the riffs in that song are just so I don't know what the instrumental is that the song first starts off with. I don't know what the instrument's called. I want to say it's something similar to like a flute, but I
Oh yeah,
think
it's
yeah, I love that from Beowulf. It's like a Viking calling out to sea for like their friends or something. That's what that flute part reminds me of. Vinland is super catchy. I love that song. The Land, I used to be obsessed with that song for a while. Flash of the Silver Hammer is probably my second least favorite, but it's still such an amazing song. The Wheel of Sun, I do like this song a lot. The end, I think, is very like every time I listen to the end of this song, it reminds me of like, well, this was Quorthon's life. This is the end of the era because, as we all know, this was Quorthon's last album before he died. Um, last Bathory album before he died. But I feel like The Wheel of the Sun is the perfect song, besides the outro, to have ended his legacy, his music career and stuff. Yeah, and then Death and Resurrection of a Northern Star, I believe it's called. That song is probably my favorite song off this album. I love the intro so much. I love how fast and fierce it feels. It feels like I'm in a march and I'm about to fight in war. And I love audience chorus or whatever you want to call it between each like I don't know, I just love it so much. It feels like a horse stampede when I listen to that song. And especially if you listen to that song in your car full blast, it's amazing. Windows rolled down, even 10 points added. Yeah, I think this album isn't S tier. There's so there's nothing bad at all to say in this album.
I'd put it. I'd put it there.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
Okay.
That's it's deserving
All
of it.
right. That is the ranking of all of Bathory's albums, with combined of both of our takes. I definitely disagree with some of the stuff here,
Hmm.
but overall, I think this is a solid ranking. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for inviting me to this video.